the Chase Thomas Podcast, for people who have nothing but time to kill.
Checker Neyland. You wrote about this this week, Ryan Sylvia, in the history here of Checker Neyland, because Tennessee is officially going to Checker Neyland for week 3 against Georgia. And we'll see if Tennessee's undefeated coming into that matchup. If they can get through Syracuse in the Dome, back in the home state, in the home city for me, and at Mercedes-Benz in Atlanta, Ryan Sylvia. But what did you find with the history of Checker Neyland, and what do you make of it in the past and doing it versus Georgia here in week 3?
Yeah, I mean, they're 4-4 with it, but they've won 3 straight. And so that was kind of one of the things I wanted to look at was, I think it's mostly been dispelled since they've won the 3 straight, but like, especially when they brought it back after the other time they did against Georgia and you lost 41-0 in the Checker Neyland game. That took that hiatus when Pruitt was the head man, and Heupel and Danny White get here and they bring back for Ole Miss. And there's a little bit of pushback like, hey, Tennessee never wins the Checker Neyland game. And at the time, like, I mean, it's hard to argue against it. They only won the 1 game in 2016. Then you lose to Ole Miss. And all of a sudden it was like, all right, this team's 1-4 when they do this. You know, is there some bad juju, which, you know, I never fully bought into. It's more so just a result of you had Butch Jones as your coach, and it was year 1 under Heupel in a game that very well, maybe depending who you ask, should have went their direction if some calls went a little bit differently. But they've responded with 3 straight. And I think that it's a nice momentum that they've built with it. It's not the end all be all of winning football games, but it's one of the cooler visuals in the sport, I think. So I personally love it. I love the Checker Neyland games. I love kind of sitting in the press box, watching it fill in a little bit as you see the different sections fill out. And when you talk to random people, I'm from Pennsylvania, I went to high school in Pennsylvania. I go back up to Pennsylvania and you talk about Tennessee football with people, and a lot of things they say is, yeah, that's a bucket list. Go to Tennessee, see that Checker Neyland game. And that's from people that, they have their white out at Penn State and all of that. So that they know about, some good color coordinated environments. And it's kind of on that list, on the Mount Rushmore, I guess, of those types of events. And in terms of picking Georgia, I mean, I guess you only had so many options. Like, do you want to do it for Arkansas in that kind of revenge game type of moment and really try to, make sure you get a win during it? Or do you want to try to pull out all those stops? You want to go back to Oklahoma again when they did it? I guess that was 2015 when they pulled that out and lost in overtime to Baker Mayfield and company. You had a couple options. It's not the Florida home year. I guess that's what they do every time Florida's at home now, is they do that. So I don't know. If you wanted to win, if you wanted to make sure you got a win under your belt in the Checker Neyland game, it definitely wasn't the game to pick. If you just wanted to pick the biggest game, then yeah, you got it right.
Yeah, I was at the Checker Neyland Florida game in 22, and it's great. Like, it's so good to be there in person and to really, like, it's just something, like you said, you have to be there to understand, and it's amazing. Like, it's just 100,000 plus stadium, and it's just, Neyland Stadium is not a stadium, it's a coliseum. Like, it's Neyland Coliseum masquerading as a football stadium. And when Checker Neyland's in full effect, it's just like, it's kind of overwhelming. It's a great visual, and it's really, really cool. It's what makes Tennessee and college football special. That all being said, Ryan, I would have much rather they had picked Arkansas or Oklahoma. Oklahoma probably would have been my number 1 pick, because I think that's going to be more of the most 50-50 type contest for Tennessee at home this year. And that's where you want it. You want a 50-50 game where you're like, oh, maybe this gets the crowd just a little bit more amped up to give us that last little bit of juice to win. And I understand, like you talked about the 2015 game. I think they'll beat Arkansas with or without Checker Neyland, and I think it's just Arkansas might be pretty bad by that point. I don't want to burn it there. Georgia I don't think it's going to be 41-0, but I don't. Like, I was listening to Russell Smith on the drive today talk about this, of like, it's going to be talking about the Checker Neyland for Georgia, and like, I think his perspective was it's going to be jumping like in Knoxville that week. I don't think I agree. I think it's going to be, I guess it depends on how Tennessee looks against Syracuse more than anything, but I don't know if a lot of Vol fans, after going 0-4, and then what we saw 2 years ago, which with a better Tennessee offense, potentially, with Georgia coming in, and that game was, I mean, that was less competitive than the 21 game, and I was in the building for that, freezing my tail off. I've been at both. I got to decide it. Maybe I'm a bad luck. Like, I don't know if I need to be in the building for Georgia, Tennessee this year, because I'm going to level with you, Ryan. It's been pretty demoralizing being in the building for Tennessee, Georgia of late, and at least it's not gonna be cold on the walkout. Like that's a big win here, is like coming out of a drubbing potentially and not freezing my tail off and having to use not the icy hots. What are those things called? The hot hands throughout. And I don't know. I guess we'll see what the vibe is at that point, but it feels like Checker Neyland for Georgia seems like a waste. And maybe I'm wrong here, but I would have probably picked Oklahoma because I feel like that's a more 50-50 type game that they would need it for.
I think that's fair. I disagree with Knoxville will be jumping that week. If Tennessee can win against Syracuse in any shape or form, it'll be jumping. If you can,
even if Aguilar like kind of stinks, and you're like,
if you win that game 10-7, I still think it's jumping for Georgia.
Interesting.
Like I think you just have to get in with a 0 in the line because I mean you'll make up any excuse possible. Like
I might be dragged in, Ryan. Like I'm gonna get dragged in there.
It's his first game. It was his first game. He's got the system. You saw what he did in week 2 against like ETSU, whoever they play in week 2.
It is ETSU, yeah.
And I'm sure they'll just beat them like a drum, and that'll get everyone bought back in for that game. Even if they lose to Syracuse, the beatdown that Tennessee is probably going to hand ETSU just for the optics and trying to get things back on track and the reps for Joey Aguilar or whoever's at quarterback. Like I expect that game to be a full-on blowout. There's going to be hype going into the Georgia game. It's going to be a sellout. It's going to be a beautiful visual. The first few drives of the game will be as loud as you'll hear across college football. The issue is it's still almost impossible for me to see Tennessee winning that game right now. And it does feel like a waste in that regard. So yeah, if you want to pick the best team that you're going to play at home this year, yeah, it's Georgia. If you're going to pick a game that you feel like is up in the air, like you were saying, it's probably Oklahoma. I'm curious if there's any don't want to make the Oklahoma game bigger than it is 2 years in a row, though, because last year you had the whole Heupel saga of going back and being in Norman. It's still got to be a little weird, even though it's not in Norman, to be on the other sideline from Oklahoma. So I wonder if that plays into it at all of like, hey, let's not make this game too big, maybe like it kind of sneakily got to be last year and try to treat it like any other game. But I don't know. It feels like you're not using, I guess, that home field advantage, however important that is, to its fullest extent. I do agree with that.
To be perfectly clear, I want to be wrong very, 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 very badly about Georgia and Tennessee this fall. I have not felt worse about Georgia Tennessee though since 2021.
Yeah,
I don't feel good about it. I'm hey, it's like Tony Basilio says, I call balls and strikes. And right now, it's May 15th and I have all the time in the world.
Nicely done, nephew. The Chase Thomas Podcast. Hell yeah.